Hello and welcome to a very, very exciting all-new stat rep. I'm Tyler Bortel, and I'm joined by,
Lucas V. Troller.
and today we are bringing you some hot, spicy, fresh battle reports using new mission packet, new detachments on both armies, and some new data sheets on a new table. So much new going on right here, and we are so excited for it. We are playing the brand new, the Tunnel Snakes detachment, the Subterranean Assault Tyranids, up against, what are you playing again, Lucas? What's the detachment called?
This is the Infernal Lance from the new Chaos Knights Codex.
Hell yeah. We've got a whole bunch of people asking to see this new stuff, and we are really excited to bring it to you. We've got a spicy freaking game for you today, so buckle up. Lucas, you want to give us your list first here? What's the thought process? I see big knights in a Chaos Knights
Yeah.
army. I didn't know it was possible. How did you make it happen?
What a concept, man. Actual datasheet variety, and it's not trolling. Let's go. So yeah, today I'm playing the Infernal Lance, which is the second of the new Chaos Knight detachments. It's honestly a really cool detachment that has good power spread throughout its stratagems and enhancements and army rule. So to take you through an overview before I go into the specifics, my list is 3 big knights, 5 war dogs, and some Nurgle demon allies. In terms of contents, I've got 2 Knight Abominants, I've got 1 Knight Despoiler, 2 Karnivores, and 3 Huntsmen. So what Infernal Lance gives you, just straight off the hop, is one of the more powerful detachment rules that the CK Codex has access to. You get to choose in your command phase, the CK player's command phase, to take Infernal Pacts, basically. And it's kind of like a pact from CSM, right? You roll a leadership check. If you fail the test, then you take D3 mortal wounds. And regardless of whether or not you fail or pass, you get to choose an effect to be applied to your knight, and that it basically gives you a token, and that token can be consumed to choose an effect at any point up until your next command phase. The tokens, can be consumed for mobility, which is +3 move, damage, which is either lethal or sustained hits in shooting or combat, and toughness. So you can get 5-up invuln and 6-up heal no pain. So obviously the 5-up invuln won't help you against shooting because you're a knight. You have a 5-up invuln anyway. But in melee, you'll get that 5-up invuln, and then you'll also get a 6-up heal no pain in either phase. So you'll buff for damage, you'll buff for mobility, and you'll buff for shooting. And all 3 of these are very good effects. In terms of my big knights, all 3 are characters. The first of which is the top of the table there in gray, that is a Knight Abominant with Fleshmetal Fusion. So 3 of the enhancements for the Infernal Lance synergize with a specific pact that you're making. So 1 synergizes with damage, 1 with resilience, and 1 with mobility. I have all 3 of those here. So the guy at the top there, that Abominant, has Fleshmetal Fusion, which makes him a base toughness of 12. And then when you pact for resilience, you also get +1 to saving throws against armor saving throws for 1 damage attacks. This is a really cool enhancement and makes him kind of problematic for certain strength breakpoints to deal with. Obviously, going back up to toughness 12, having the 26 wounds. When you pack for resilience, you get that 6-up feel no pain. And then also, if your opponent happens to be 1 damage, then you're getting basically AOC as well, which is really nice. Actually, it's better than AOC because against damage 0 it works, and it can bump you to 2-up armor against AP 0, which is really nice. In the middle there, let's see. This is another Knight Abominant in green. She is my Knight Diabolus. So she has +1 weapon skill, and then when she makes a damage dealing pact, she's going to get Lance as well. And again, those damage pacts are either sustained hits or lethal hits. So when she goes in there, really what makes this so cool is it makes the Abominant from a decent melee combatant into a serious melee combatant, where, an Abominant probably doesn't kill like a Predator or a Vindicator when it charges in, but all of a sudden your weapon's already sustained, so you pack for lethal, you're hitting on 2s instead of 3s, you're running on, 3s or 4s instead of 4s or 5s. And you're sustained and lethal. It's just like more hits going through, more converting to wounds. Just makes the Abominant much more threatening, which is awesome. So she's going to be quite the terror this game, and just chewing through some Tyranids, and I can't wait to show her off here. And then right behind her, we've got my final big knight, which is a Knight Despoiler with double Gatling cannon and rocket pod up top, the crack rockets. So she is really awesome. Her enhancement is she has a bestial aspect. So she she has what is it? She has assault weapons. All of her weapons are assault. So she's very fast. And then when she packs her ability, in addition to the standard plus 3-inch move, she's going to get ignore, move, and advance mods and all that kind of stuff. So she's very hard to slow down. And she's also quite fast, right? Like 10 inches plus 3 from the mobility pact, plus D6 from assault weapons. Instead of a Despoiler moving 10, your opponent has to plan around a Despoiler moving 19. And that's literally double the distance. Quite scary. And then, yeah. So those are my 3 big knights. In terms of the little knights, they won't get too much from this attachment other than kind of like the core army rule itself. They'll get the pacts. We've got 2 carnivores right there in the middle, and then 2 huntsmen down by the 2 big knights. They are the ones with the white carapace armor, and then 1 is in strat reserve. So they'll get the pacts, so the carnivores can go up to 17, which is awesome. The huntsman can get sustained for additional melt to scam value. And then if I really need to, I can always turn on the 6 of Feel No Pain for them to try to get them to live where they otherwise shouldn't. So yeah, just nice to have some faster dogs to go out and solve smaller problems. Finally, we have our Nurgle Demon complement. We have 3 Nurglings. We have 10 Plaguebearers to stick in the home field and screen. And then we have a Nurgle, a Beast of Nurgle in Deep Strike to hopefully do some actions in the mid game. That's the list. To quickly overview some of the other things Infernal Lance can do. I haven't gone over the stratagems yet. There are some nice resilience ones in here. There's one in the shooting phase and one in the combat phase. So this is the detachment that kept rotate ion shields. This is really nice on some of the big knights to just like spend a CP and make yourself 50% more likely to pass a save, which is pretty awesome. So rotate ion shield access. We also have a 1 CP in the fight phase AOC. This is a really big stratagem. A lot of the combat in the game right now is like AP 2 max, maybe AP3 if people are lucky. Bumping that down to you get a 4 and 5 up save instead of a 5 or a 6 is really massive. And a lot of the durability of Infernal Lance is kind of the confluence of different things. Like let's take the Fleshmetal Fusion Knight. Toughness 12, yeah, it's obvious where the power of Toughness 12 is coming from. But you might say, plus 1 save against damage 1 weapons, that's not that big a deal. Okay, what if you consider that, it's also Toughness 12, and you have AOC access, and you have a 6 of Feel No Pain, and you're plus 1 save against damage 1. It's kind of like all 4 of those things can change the math in your favor. And if you ever get more than like 2 or 3 of them to 2 or 3 of them to come together at one time, like Unit of Corn Berserkers charges your knight. Okay, but normally that would wound on 5s and put him on a 5 up armor. That pushes that the Fleshmetal Fusion guy, you're wounding on 6s, and I'm getting a 3 up armor. It's really nice. Against all the chain blades, at least. And even against the battle axes and the character, you're getting a 4 up armor instead of a 5 up with AOC. So just real math changes there, which is really awesome. Some other things you can do, you can reissue a pact at the end of any phase. So you can kind of like surprise your opponent with, hey, look, actually, I do have a resilience pact. Or the classic combo is you move plus 3, you zip around to touch a piece of terrain with a Towering Knight, and then you go, okay, actually 1 CP, I'm also going to activate my lethal on my big knight, right? Because otherwise she would consume her pack to go extra far, but she wouldn't have lethal or sustain in the shooting phase. For 1 CP, you can actually implement that combination, which is really nice. Let's see, what else am I forgetting? AOC, rotate on shields, reissue pacts. The core damage stratagem from the detachment is 1 CP ignore cover in the shooting phase. This is really the biggest reason of why this Despoiler is so nice is because she can pact for lethal and then ignore cover, and she tears a battle tank in half basically every time, which is really nice. So I'm excited to get to show that all off this game.
Could you walk us through the
Tyler.
outfit of her? What is she shooting with?
Yeah, so she's got twin Gatling cannons, which for some reason come with the heavy flamers, and then a rocket pod up top. So each Gatling cannon has 18 shots at 622, hitting on 3s. And then 36-inch range as well, which is ludicrous. And then we have 3 shots at 8.2d6 from the rocket pod up top. I think that's 48-inch range, but really she just is looking to be within 36 anyway. And then she has 2 heavy flamers, so 12-inch range, 5-on-1, d6 shots each. Again, those are decent numbers, and then you start to factor in things like cover. Okay, that kind of turns off a Despoiler's damage. Okay, you can ignore that for a CP in this detachment. Your guy is slow. She moves 10 inches. Okay, in this attachment, she can go 13 plus D6 on demand. Okay, that's pretty good. And then also, what happens if you need more volume? Okay, well, you can sustain for your pact. Okay, what happens if your opponent's a battle tank and you're winning on fives? All right, lethal hits, you get like double the output. Not quite double, but like a significant uptick. Yeah, it's just like a pile of bullets that there are some defensive profiles that it doesn't line up well into, like T12 or T7, but against most things in the game, she's tearing it apart.
And sorry if I missed it. Did you already run through your demons?
Yeah, 10 Plaguebearers, 3 Nurglings, and a Beast of Nurgle.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, I'm excited to see what these Chaos Knights can get up to. I know that there's been a lot of kind of mixed reactions from people about the decrease in defense, but maybe some of these other increases are going to more than make up for it. Excited to see it in practice. It certainly added a lot of variety in list building off the hop, which is the thing that indexing did the most. Sweet. Over here on the other side, we are running the brand new Tyranids detachment, the Subterranean Onslaught. Oh my gosh, I love this detachment. It's got so much nonsense. Check out the latest Take All Comers to hear about hear me break down the rules a little bit more in detail, but today we'll just show off some of the things it can do. Basically, whenever a Ravener unit or a Trygon unit or a Moloch unit or the special new Raveners, which I'm not actually playing today, but they do get the Burrower keyword. Whenever they arrive, they make a little tunnel marker, and that tunnel marker is a 9-inch bubble of you can arrive in here in 6-inch deep strike, kind of like the Shadow of Chaos for Chaos Demons. That's the main shtick of the detachment, and then in addition to that, we've Real Ones to hit all the time. Real Ones to hit is a great damage buff. So this is immediately one of the most damaging Tyranid armies that you can have. I don't think it's quite as much as Vanguard necessarily, but it still is just a crazy amount. And then these 6-inch deep strikes and shoot and charge, by far the most mobile Tyranid detachment. Just so much ability to put some really questionable data sheets, and particularly questionable data sheets that have gotten price drops over the last couple of months and years because they don't have very good mobility. Suddenly they have perfect mobility and they become incredibly points efficient for their damage. So I'm excited to show that off. So as far as the army is concerned, I'm trying to try out a bunch of different things over here. I've been playing a bunch of different armies, and we don't have quite everything that I like in this detachment showcased here, but we do have a lot of it. And I wanted to try, a bunch of different things. So in particular, we've got, for HQs, we've got a Neurotyrant. We've got a Trygon Prime. He's chilling in Deep Strike right now, as you might imagine. That Trygon Prime is an enhancement in the new detachment, gives him +1 weapon skill and strength, and makes him synapse. So it's really +2 strength. So he's 12 attacks on 2s reroll 1s at 11-2-3. Oh, he's awesome. So he'll be great. And then we've got the Swarmlord. Oh, the Swarmlord's back. I've missed him so much. He's finally here again. He hits on 2s, but he rolls a bunch of 1s. No, he rolls 1s now. And he's twin linked, so he rolls all his wounds. He's just a menace. Those extra CP are going to go work wonders for you here, right? The Hive Tyrant got nerfed with the CP changes in the balanced data slate. Swarmlord, better than ever. He went down 20 points for some reason. I don't know why. He's amazing. So we're going to play him. Vect also just stonks through the roof. Just such a good set of things to have. You can see him deployed up here in the top left. After that, we got 10 good old-fashioned Gargoyles hanging out here on the home field, ready to jump out at a moment's notice. Among them is a Biovore camping out on the home field. Then we've got some spice. We've got 6 Hive Guard with Shockcannons, trying out some weirder options here. Now, obviously, being an anti-vehicle 2-up weapon will be especially useful against Chaos Knights. But in general, this is a unit that's really good at popping rhinos. This is a unit that's really good at taking down some of these tougher tanks. Anything T12 that's a vehicle, like a Land Raider, no longer a problem. Because they're going to get a really good output and take really good advantage of a stratagem that I'll tell you about in a second. We got 2 Lictors hanging out up here in midboard. Gotta love a Lictor. They do Lictor-related activities. We've got my favorite unit in the Tyranids Codex, the Neurogaunt. 3 squads of them, 2 of them in strat reserve. The third one will be deployed out here in a minute when I remember that I put too few things on the board. But they are fantastic. It's 11 dudes for 45 points. That 6-inch deep strike, because everyone does now, and make a muck. We'll show off then in a big way in a minute. We got a Pyrovore to turn off some cover, because you can never have too much ignores cover. 2 5-man Ravener units, one of them over here and one of them over there. That Ravener is also chilling in strat reserves for the time being. We've got 6 Zoanthropes joined to our Neurotyrant, hanging out here in the midboard, ready to lay down some oppressive firepower. This is a unit that has been insanely points efficient in terms of guns for a long time, but finally has an actual delivery mechanism that you can rely on. Very excited to be playing it today. And then we've got 2 Maleceptors and a Psychophage. That Psychophage got a sweet buff where it hands out +1 AP in melee, and it's 12-inch movement. It's even faster than it used to be. Really great piece for 110. And those Maleceptors are gonna get to do a little bit of everything, right? They're gonna get in there, do really good shooting up close, make easy charges, hang out in melee, giving off that -1 to hit aura, giving synapse for shadows. It's a great A piece. We're gonna see how it all works together here. Now, as far as the Subterranean strats are concerned, we'll run through them real quick. First off, we've got give a Moloch or a Trygon synapse. The only Trygon or Moloch I have is my Trygon Prime. He already has synapse. Don't worry about it. Then we've got a healing strat. You pick a unit wholly within 9 of a tunnel marker at the end of your movement phase. They regain D3 +1 wounds. Or if it's a 1 wound models, they regain D3 +1 models, which is pretty sweet. We've got the damage strat here, which is the end of the movement phase. You pick a Tyranid unit set up as reinforcements this turn. You give them +1 and ignores cover. That is devastating on these Zoanthropes. It is devastating on the Hive Guard. Just really good shooting. It's also great on the Trygon in melee or other things. Haruspex is great. Don't have a Haruspex in this build, unfortunately, because we wanted to try some Maleceptors, but we'll see how it goes. We've got the most important strat to do with charging. We got 6-inch aura of reroll charges for a monster that arrived from reserves. So I can have a whole bunch of stuff show up at 6, and then all of it can reroll charges, so it becomes incredibly reliable. Very silly stratagem. And then we got our 2 mobility strats. We got good old-fashioned uppy downy, pick a unit not in combat, put them into strat reserves. And then the fancier one, which is our site-to-site teleport. You pick a unit wholly within 9 of a tunnel marker, pick them up, put them down wholly within 9 of another tunnel marker, outside of 6 of enemies, and you can still shoot and charge. So you can use that as kind of a fallback shoot and charge kind of situation. You can use it to reposition really quickly. You can use it as a second uppy downy. It's just a hell of a stratagem, and I'm excited to show it off today. All right, that's enough yapping. Let's get right into it. We are playing a brand new mission. What mission we got today, Lucas?
This is Crucible of Battle, Hidden Supplies. You'll notice I only said 2 things there because we've gotten rid of the cringe tertiary rules. Hidden Supplies is now a primary, which means if you hold a middle objective, you get 5 points. If you hold 2 middle objectives, you get 10 points. If you hold more objectives than your opponent, you get that an additional 5. So it's the home objectives are not themselves worth any primary, but as we'll see this game, it will factor into whether or not you get hold more. So it is still important to defend your home, kind of like maybe Vital Ground from back in the Leviathan days, right? Where like holding your home was a consolation prize, but occasionally it will matter because it'll add up over the course of the game, type of thing.
Man, Vital Ground. I missed that primary. Bring that back.
Throwback. Yep. So yeah, we can see here, this is new GW8? Yep. Question mark? Cool.
Yeah, recommend.
So we can see, what's really cool is those 2 4x6s just right next to each other in the middle of the board. Those guys are very interesting because it's a staging ruin that's not that defensible, right? It's like almost impossible to 1-inch those, A, because you'll just get shot, and B, the pieces of terrain are very small, so you can just go around to charge the opponent. So it's a good staging position that opens you up to risk, which is just such a breath of fresh air on GW tables. Yeah, and then other than that, we got, the natural expansions are quite defensible, and we got some good staging. So this honestly feels like a discount WTC board. Like, the angles are not easy on this board. It's quite nice. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say I don't like it playing against a towering army because man, oh man, do those angles open up real fast and you get to toe into things. So we'll see how much damage that's able to apply. We've drawn out a bunch of lines here on the board to understand how sightlines are going to work a little bit better because it is both of our first time playing on this new board. So we're excited to see that in practice. We do usually play on WTC, but we have had some requests for GW and we figured that's kind of what most people seem to play on. So why not give it a go? In addition to that, what was I about to say? Plan on GW, playing this new mission. Oh, because we are playing on a GW terrain, we are playing a GW format here. So 1-inch charge blocking is unfortunately going to be a thing. No tokens or anything like that. Fortunately, we're both pretty monster vehicle heavy armies when it comes to melee, so there shouldn't be a ton of issues around that, but it is something to watch out for in case it comes up. Just going to play consistent with the format. So we're going to get going, and we roll off, and it looks like we have Tyranids going first. Woo! The amount of pressure Chaos Knights can apply on a top 1, pretty high. So I am very excited to not have to deal with that, though it does mean that we're going to need to ball out at some point if we're going to keep Lucas from getting a ton of points on the tail end there. So top 1, we are going to draw, engage on all fronts, and sabotage. And those are, fairly easy things to do. I mean, it's almost impossible not to get engaged for at least 1 point these days. So we'll think about that. And I am going to think not at all about the secondaries. Instead, my number one priority is Lucas's movement and how I can control it. You see, big knights move through walls, no matter how tall they are, all the time. It's a terrifying thing to deal with, and it means that we need to be very careful in our move blocking, or else this big bad toughness 12 mother clucker up top here is just going to run a rampant through our forces and kill everything in sight. So we're going to put this Lictor over here. It's going to be pretty carefully positioned such that there's nowhere that this base can fit while moving 13, staying outside of an inch of my Lictor. The walls themselves will be in the way, and he's going to end up in a tight spot. Now, this Karnivore over here, by contrast, is going to be able to get to my Lictor, but that's something that I'm okay with, right? At that point, that Karnivore gets picked up pretty comfortably. I've got plenty of things that can go after it. It's really just this T12 monstrosity that I can't deal with quite as effectively, and I want to keep the game slow, right? Something you will find if you play a lot of Tunnel Snakes, which is what I'm going to call Subterranean Assault, is that you have a lot of damage and you have a lot of explosive ability, but you do not have a lot of toughness. There's not a lot of durability to go around, even with the Maleceptors here. And as a result, you really want to slow the game down. You do not want to engage things too aggressively early. So we're going to do our best to avoid that. Now, I'm going to consider a couple different ways to try to get sabotage here with this Lictor over here, hoping that he can stay safe. There is no staying safe with these Karnivores on the board. They move 17 in charge. No dice involved.
Yep.
No CP involved. They just go 17 in charge. Which I appreciate that it's not super high variance, right? Things that move quick and then get advance and charge on top of that can sometimes be a little annoying to plan around because, at some point you got to take a risk and your opponent was a 6. This is just flat 17. So reasonably easy to play around, but not necessarily easy to hide from if you want to be in the midboard doing a sabotage. So instead, we're going to have Swarmy come up here, and I'm going to reposition these Ravenous a little bit to get a little further forward in a second, and he'll do the sabotage up top. Engage-wise, I could put a Spore Mine probably over here or something to grab that, but instead, I'm going to throw him up here. Part of that is that it's going to make it even more awkward for this Knight to try to get involved, but it's also going to make life a little bit more complicated for this stock Karnivore as well. Keep him from advancing over onto that point, force him to come in for the charge, so that I definitely get him in a position where I can really go eat his guts. So we'll see how that pans out. This is where we'll put those Neurogaunts down that I realized I should have deployed because I was cheating, and we'll get that fixed. So that's all we're going to do, really, and we'll clock it over to Lucas. What are we doing bottom one, friends?
Nice. So a relatively safe turn 1 from Mr. Tyler. What I'm going to do here is just try to deny that primary, right? His go turn is going to hurt. I'm screen light, so at a certain point, I just kind of have to accept that the attrition is going to go poorly, and there's going to be a go turn that I'm going to have to ride the storm. And we'll just kind of go from there. So I am willing to kind of trade down here in order to hurt your points. I want to punish you for your average turn 1 of scoring. So let's say you got a 1 on engage and
1 on engage
and a 3 on sabotage functionally. Yeah. Yep. So if I can flip your primary here, I can keep you to 4 total points in the first, functionally the first battle round, which will be nice. So this Karnivore here is going to pact for movement and just yeet his 17 forward. And here we can immediately see how impactful that extra movement is on, Karnivores. Guy's going 17 instead of 14, so he's going for a 5-inch charge instead of an 8-inch charge. Being able to give yourself +3 on demand is massive. So we're just going to go munch on that Lictor and deny 5 on the primary, which should be nice and good. And then the other guy as well, obviously that Lictor isn't on the objective. He's not in the process of sabotaging, so he's not really worth any points himself. But my own secondaries this turn are Tempting Target and Overwhelming Force. So you tempt me with that objective in the middle, and I say, all right, I'm not happy about trading a Karnivore for a Lictor, but I'm going to get 5 points out of it and demand a response. Which is cool. So he's going to go forward again, pacting for movement, which gives him the other guy to 4. This guy is a 5 rerolling, which again would have been 8 if I was not playing this attachment. And then in terms of the home field here, we issue pacts with all 3 of our big knights. We acknowledge that, turn 2, you can up down a bunch of stuff. You can do a bunch of teleporting and bringing in things from reserve. So there is every chance in the world that you just bring in a huge blob of guys in the middle of the table next turn. I want to have my resilience online. So all 3 of my big knights issue a pact with the intent that I'll use it for durability if you go for a commit. Yeah, and that's where we are. We can see the Green Knight here, the one with some verdigris, is my Knight Diabolus, and she's kind of standing right in front of the Bestial aspect Despoiler, just kind of protecting her. One of the weaknesses of big knights in every detachment that's not Iconoclast fiefdom is that they can't fall back, shoot, and charge. They can't fall back and do shit. And you're going to take very good advantage of this game, and I want to try to mitigate that as much as possible. So super excited to see how that pans out. And then we're also throwing our Huntsmen on our expansion objective. Again, this guy can be shot if Tyler wants to. Unfortunately, as fast as my War Dogs are with the movement buff, teleporting is faster than +3 move. So you're going to get to hit me on your terms if you want to. And ideally, I'd love to get that started as fast as possible so I can kind of see where the dust settles and clap back hard with my big knights.
Absolutely. I do want to take a moment here to focus on this decision I made to put the tempting target over here. Now, it may seem initially when you draw a tempting target like you should always just slam the one that you're currently holding. But in this case, I think it makes a lot more sense to go for this one out in the open here because it forces this second knight out. You want to come deny the primary in the first place. We throw our tempting target on this other objective over here. Suddenly you're sending out 2 Karnivores instead of just one. I can pick both of those up with minimal clapback. I'm going to be in a really good place resource-wise. And Sure enough, that's what we're looking at here. Alrighty. We're going to pick up our Raveners for free because that's what Raveners do. And we will draw a Challenger card because we're down 10 points to 4. Now, unfortunately, we grab Renewed Focus, which is doing an action with a unit more than 15 away from all the other units in your army. That's not super realistic for me right now. Like it's possible that I could really kerfuffle these Neurogaunts up into the top corner to get use out of it. I just don't see it as being the most important thing in the world. Instead, we'll throw reroll ones to hit and wound around, which is not super useful because my whole army already just rerolls ones to hit, but we'll make it work. Whatever the case, we're getting 0 primary this turn. In our secondaries, we draw Assassination and Marked for Death, which is gross. So we're going to discard Marked for Death because I think you end up marking like Big Knight, something else. I think you went for these Nurglings. Anyway, whatever the case. Yep. So we'll end up with, we'll redraw, we'll get Tempting Target instead. And now in this case, Lucas does definitely just tempt me for the objective that he's holding because that's definitely non-trivial for me to get hold of. I do want to get over anyway, but like if he tempts me over here, these Gargoyles have absolutely no problem getting to there in the process. So good call to force me out to the bottom. Now, it is tempting to look at this board state and see there is in fact a hole here. Lucas did not want to come stage up here and risk getting shot to pieces on this angle. Totally reasonable decision on his part. It's so tempting to send. So tempting. And you definitely could in this position, drop in your whole army right here, shoot this thing, hopefully kill it. Hopefully kill this, and then have your whole army here for Lucas to deal with just these 4 knights and his one coming in from Ingress and hope that that's good. However, I would implore you, when you feel the urge to send, to take a look at the table and wonder if there's another option. Because these 2 knights can be really easily killed without sending, right? They're very overexposed in this position. They're way out in front of everyone else. These knights back here are not staged at all, right? As long as I sit back, they can't do anything to me. There's no movement in the world where he's touching this, so I'm just safe in my side of the table. And the same goes for the Gatling cannon knight behind. It's just this guy's going to try to play with. Just need to watch out for his ingress a little bit. We're fine. And then obviously the real problem is this guy. If I can solve that one big Abominant knight up at the top there, then literally nothing can touch me, and I get to wait a whole turn, and I'll get to reload all my resources after I pick up the 2 little knights in front of me. So that's what we're going to do. Now, how do you do that for the minimal resources possible? Here's where Tunnel Snakes gets a little bit silly. Knights, like Lucas said, cannot fall back and do anything. Can't fall back and shoot, they can't fall back and charge, they're just stuck where they're at, right? Now, they can shoot while they're in combat because they're a vehicle after all. They can shoot anybody else they prefer to go after. But they can only do that on things they can already see. So if you can tag knights and base them so they don't get to Pilot Console, then anything that they can't see the moment you charge them, they won't be able to see in their next shooting phase, and you'll be good to go. And this knight is very aggressively staged, but he cannot see anybody on the board right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get him tagged. We're going to try to kill these 2 friends. We're going to try to deny this primary with our Gargoyles over here. And if we could do all of those things while expending almost no resources, I think we're going to be in a great spot for the rest of the game. The Gargoyles roll like a 2 or 3 on their advance, which is plenty to get over here with their 6-inch fire and fade. I don't know where this objective went, but it's right there, trust me. They'll be able to finagle into this little shape over here to deny that primary. And then how are we going to tag this Abominant? We're going to do it with my favorite unit in the damn game, the Neurogaunts. So check this out. My Raveners uppy downy for free. That's how on the Ravener datasheet has been all edition, and it is on the new one. So one of those Ravener squads is going to drop in right here. And when it does, it's going to put down a tunnel marker. And that tunnel marker is going to say, if I'm within 9, I can 6-inch deep strike. So I will then, sure enough, oh, here come the Raveners right on cue. I will then go ahead and 6-inch deep strike with a unit of Neurogaunts out here. There's that tunnel marker. It's up here, actually. Same vibes. And then I will have just an easy peasy 6-inch charge to go tag this knight. Now, Lucas is playing Chaos Knights. He's largely, all of his guns here are on super heavies, or towering models, rather. They can't overwatch. So I'm fine to just go in and charge. I have 11 models. Lucas has 12 attacks. Now, 9 of them are sustained, but he's hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s. The odds of him killing all 11 of my models with those 12 attacks, very low. So if this all works out, he'll be tagged and we're going to be in business. Now, I could even send in 2 squads of Neurogaunts if I was feeling safe. We're going to play it a little bit risky here because I'm feeling kind of saucy and I want to see if I can really mitigate his whole army with just a 45-point unit. In a tournament, maybe I'm dropping 2 units here, but we're feeling zesty. But here's the best part. I haven't told you the dumbest part of this yet. Well, there's several dumb parts. Number one, we're going to be able to, with that 6-inch deep strike, also contest this objective as a just in case on the off chance that this Karnivore doesn't die to the Zoanthropes that are just going to walk over and blast it. And because we're 6-inch deep striking over here, we get this Neurogaunt all the way up. We push his ingress all the way back up to here. Suddenly, he's not able to ingress in the front, and which would be a great thing for him to do. He could ingress here, heroic after these Neurogaunts, just can't do it because we positioned correctly. There's the horrible part. Normally, you'd think, okay, well, these Raveners are up a creek, though, right? Don't you really need those Ravener units? Why are you sacrificing one of them for this silly little play? I'm not. I'm going to use my 1 CP site-to-site teleportation at the end of the movement phase to pick that Ravener unit who is wholly within 9 of the tunnel marker they just created. And they're going to teleport over to here, wholly within 9 of the tunnel marker that my other Ravener unit has just created, and only outside of 6 of this Karnivore. So they also then become a contingency plan in case these Zoanthropes aren't able to shoot it to death. They can just 6-inch charge and wipe him out. What an insane amount of value I'm getting out of 1 CP here. This whole thing costs 1. Right? It's ridiculous. And we're able to do this without even bringing in our Hive Guard because the Swarmlord's right over here. He just waltzes on around to go beat this thing to death. He had taken some damage already from his pact. And he took some damage from the Lictor who fought first. So I think he's only got like 6 wounds left. Only need 2 wounds from the Swarmlord to go through to kill him. And Swarmlord's on 2s to roll 1s into 3s to roll everything. You're taking 5 up saves. Like, feeling pretty good about that. And sure enough, he will go down. Swarmlord also even got to shoot him. So that's great. So everything here works out according to plan. We shoot this guy down. We charge this guy. We're going to beat him to death. We fire and fade over to here. We drop a score mine over here to keep out any kind of reserves, specifically Lucas's Beast of Nurgle, who could make a play toward my home field. And we hit our 6-inch charge over here, which is money. Now, Lucas is going to roll a little bit better than I would like him to, and he will kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of my 11 Neurogaunts, which is very scary. He burns his pact here to use sustain, so he has he already has sustain. He burns his pact for lethal, so he doesn't have to roll a wound on the 6 that he's also getting sustain on. Very scary. And he rolls super well on the first one, but I think his tail gets no hits out of 3. So we got very lucky there that worked out. I'll do the math later on just how crazy of a risk that was that I took there, because obviously if this guy's free to just waltz up and punk the Swarmlord, that'd be a problem. But mission accomplished, and for the low price of a unit of Gargoyles and a unit of Neurogaunts and a single command point, we have picked up 2 Karnivores and fully nulled Lucas's turn 2. I will not be taking any meaningful damage, this turn. And we'll get to have our actual go turn with Lucas down 2 whole dogs. Feels great. And in the process, we score our tempting target with those Gargoyles for 5 points. Clock it over to you, Lucas. What do we think about him too?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the trading so far has not gone great for me. That was the price I paid for my accepting, the turn 1 losses of sending the Karnivores forward, is getting them kind of picked up for free here. The Swarmlord got 1. He's standing behind the wall. I'm not going to be able to retaliate. The Zoanthropes got another one. They're standing in the far backfield. I'm not going to be able to retaliate. So I did trade down in terms of material, but I do have a nice little bit of a points lead at this point. And luckily enough, I did not get punished by Tyler's Challenger card. So that was nice. Not picking up any primary myself here. which is a bit of a bummer. I did have an opportunity to ingress my War Dog. It's important, just as Tyler said, to assess your options in for when to commit. Right, I could have committed that War Dog on the objective to guarantee I got 5 on primary, but I think it's more important that once we see the go turn happening, he's able to respond to one of the many high damage, low durability monsters that Tyler has available. In particular, that guy is headhunting the Trygon Prime, because the Trygon Prime is literally a predator defensively, and the Huntsman tears him to pieces.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest,
yeah.
Lucas. I thought that was a mistake on your part, not ingressing over there, because I was thinking that's free primary. The dog's going to get involved. That dog ends up coming in super clutch. Really good decision, thinking long term there, as opposed to just grabbing the short term primary. Excellent long term thinking.
Yeah, admittedly, I did not think of that exact reason when I chose to not ingress, but more so just it's kind of silly to have 3 Huntsmen all in the same place. And telling you where my one important piece of reserves is before you commit is probably a mistake. So, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer that our big knight up there is tied up. The 45-point Neurogaunts are some pretty spicy tech. I do like that quite a lot. With 6-inch deep strike, they have easy charge rerolls with the stratagem, and also you're playing Swarmlord. So if you don't want to commit a monster to do the AOE reroll to charge, you can just spend a CP to reroll your 6. They're really good at kind of getting in there, bogging stuff up, wrapping rhinos, tagging big knights, tagging anything really. Just super cheap wounds. It's like a unit of very deliverable Gretchen, which, as someone who's exploited how annoying Gretchen are for 45 points, I can definitely see the joy of such plays. So very nice. Yeah, what are we doing here? I mean, you've gotten some you haven't gotten any primary, but you got a 5 back on tempting targets, so I want to make sure I'm hammering down on my points lead here. Unfortunately, we don't draw fantastic secondaries. We draw Assassinate and behind enemy lines. You've screened my Beast out from your deployment zone, so I'm not getting any points on behind. And Assassinate, maybe the big knight could have headhunted that Swarmlord if I had killed your Neurogaunts, but in all honesty, probably not. Swarmlord is Tonka tough, and that would be a pretty coin flippy interaction. So we're not really anticipating any points here, which is a bit of a bummer. Yeah, so what's the overall macro plan here? We're bracing for impact at this point. You've scraped our first couple dogs worth of commitment, which is a bit of a bummer. And I'm fully acknowledging that the Raveners, the Zoanthropes, the Trygon, the Maleceptors are going to be crashing on me in this upcoming turn. So once again, I spend my command phase pacting for the intent of using it for durability, which will be really nice here. So all 3 of our big knights are basically on full health. I think actually the Grey Knight might have taken 1 from his pact here at the top of the table. But we've got our Feel No Pain online if we want it, which should be really nice. And then we land a nice 6 on our advance with the Plaguebearers to run forward and pop that tunnel there. And so there's going to be some kind of tunnel unit that's going to need to be committed and stay there. Those tunneling Raveners are fast, but they're ultimately very squishy, so getting them to commit and then removing them will be high value. They're also like pretty good damage, right? At strength 6, twin linked into the various knight chassis. Mm-hmm. They can definitely add up in a big hurry. So I want to get them down on the field, 9 inches away from me where they're unlikely to make a charge, so I can scrape them up.
Absolutely. Now, I am unfortunately able to ingress in a pretty awkward spot here for you.
Yeah.
My Trygon does get to come in here. Because this knight is tagged, Lucas really can't afford to have anything staring at this whole objective because it will just get shot back and die. So my Trygon is able to drop in and set his foot on both.
You muted yourself.
Sorry, I muted myself. He's going to drop in on both these objectives here, which is going to lock in a full 15 primary turn 2. Really great thing to do to take advantage of how far back Lucas is going to sit. He wants to brace for impact. Totally. Well, the impact's going to come. It's going to come a little earlier than he might like. The ingress in Trygon is also great because it adds another tunnel marker to the table here, which is going to mitigate how much of a bummer it is that Lucas took away this one. We'll still cover a lot of the table and hopefully get some more use out of the Raveners. And yes, secondary-wise, Lucas looking at a 0 there. Now, to be clear, you do discard behind enemy lines, but you hold on to Assassinate. Could you break down for everyone real quick why you do that and how the mechanics that work in the new mission pack? Because it's very different than it used to be.
Because this upcoming battle round is going to be so big, I would pause the recording.
Yeah.
While I talk about this.
Let's talk about it.
So, yeah, we have the same discard cards for CP kind of core interaction that we have in Prior Nexus, right? If you don't get a CP from other means during your turn, you can ditch a card at the end of your turn to get a CP here. So I really want to spend a CP so that I have my full defenses online when Tyler makes his commitment. But because I'm not scoring either Behind or Assassinate, I only need to get rid of one of these cards to do so. Right? Behind is something that I don't foresee happening anytime soon. You've got infinite screens that cannot be downy. You can just show up and 9-inch block that. I don't have any special kinds of reserves. It's going to be really hard for me to just like get there with a War Dog conventionally. So I'm not anticipating scoring Behind this turn, on your turn, or on my following turn. So that's going to go away for a CP. However, I can only get one CP as a result of that whole interaction. So I end up holding on to Assassinate on the off chance that I pick up a character in your turn, right? It's super unlikely. But there's kind of no reason not to, because of the new way that secondaries work in, God, what's our mission pack now?
I think it's just called Chapter Approved 2025.
Hell yeah, super inspiring. The way it works in Chapter Approved is you can ditch a card for no penalty at the end of your opponent's turn, right? So if I don't pick up an Assassinate, if I don't pick up a character in Tyler's turn, or to see a very easy opportunity to do it in my following turn, I'll just ditch Assassinate for no penalty. This is cringe, but it's the way the game works. So I end up holding on to Assassinate here because there's kind of no reason not to.
Good stuff. Alrighty, now let's get into that go turn. We are drawing, we're going to draw behind enemy lines and extend battle lines. Sounds good to me, Chief.
Can I talk about Dread real quick?
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry. Let's hold this.
Yeah. So the CK army rule activates on turns 1, 3, and 5. And basically, there's a table of 6 options. You'll either roll to get 2 of them randomly, not rerolling duplicates, or you'll pick one. So far in my practice games, I've enjoyed just rolling, unless it's blindingly obvious, like pick -1 to hit against Votan or Tau. It's kind of fun to just see the impact of all the different buffs. So on turn 1, I rolled 2, and I got a duplicate result of -1 leadership. So now my whole army is a 9-inch aura of -2 leadership, which is really nice. And then in this turn, because I've only got one Dread ability active, I again decide to roll, and I roll a 3 and a 6. 3 is Darkness. It's probably the most powerful one. You're -1 to hit outside of 18, or if your opponent is battle shocked, -1 to hit. And then 6 is +3 inch range to aura abilities. So all of my knights now have a 12-inch aura of -1 leadership. The Despoiler's +1 OC and leadership aura for War Dogs is now 12 inches. And then I also have -1 to hit outside of 18, as well as if the opponent's battle shocked. So 3 active auras right now for my Chaos Knights.
Nice. That -1 to hit doesn't go up as well. It's not -1 to hit outside of 21 now.
It would be awesome, but no, that's not an aura, unfortunately.
I don't think you would like that. But cool. We'll keep grooving. Yeah, so go turn time. Let's see it. So the Trygon naturally is going to run forward screaming and go punch that big knight in the face. Now, it is a bummer that this is the T12 because my Trygon is only strength 11, but we've also got the mother flipping Swarmlord staring him right in the face, and he's strength 10 twin linked, so we should be able to get some good damage done there. And because this is by far the most exposed knight, we're also going to get some good shooting into him as well. The hope is that the confluence of all of these things together will take him out. And now I know what you're thinking. You're sending 2 melee threats into 1 melee unit that's already a beat stick. Aren't you just going to get interrupted on? Totally, entirely possible. But with Swarmlord there offering his Vectora, that interrupts going to cost Lucas 3 CP. That's all the CP he has right now. So if he wants to sit on all 3 of those CP all throughout my go turn and then use them on that interrupt, assuming it's necessary, assuming the shooting and Swarmlord don't beat this knight to death in the first place, that's just how it's going to go sometimes, you know. But I feel pretty comfortable doing that, and I really want to apply pressure everywhere at once right now because the Chaos Knights really want to ball up and move as a wrecking ball. If I can spread them thin, my shooting is going to be way more efficient late in the late game. So we're bringing everybody in here. We're going to bring in a unit of Raveners. Gosh, I keep putting the wrong button. Outside of 6, and they're going to be set up to go after these Plaguebearers right here. Great. And then we're also going to spawn another token with them. So now our range of 6-inch deep striking is all the way over here or all the way over here. And that's going to let us bring in both of our Maleceptors and our Pyrovore, and they're all going to be pointed at this War Dog right here. Going to make that guy go away. to continue to mitigate things down, and just put a pile of OC on top of this point here for Lucas to come and dig through. We're also going to bring in our Neurogaunts here, right? Trying to rinse and repeat this play of 6-inch charging something to tag it. In this case, looking at this big knight right here. That big knight's all the way behind the wall, and with the double gather, he doesn't have a melee weapon. He's got 4 attacks. You tag the thing in combat, it is stuck, and its lines of sight are like this. So if we can tag it in combat and not get anyone in those lines of sight, it's going to be completely useless for the turn, and it's going to be pretty devastating for Lucas to deal with. Now, we are going to need to deal with the backfield a little bit as well, so we're going to have our Psychophage waltz in over here. I don't really need +1 AP in melee, because Lucas can always pop and will pop that 5-up invul in melee in the first place, so AP2 is plenty. Because he'll want the feel no pain out of it. And then these Raveners here are going to keep that ingress out of my backfield. And they're also going to put an extra foot on this objective, just in case Lucas is able to get up to any funny business between his battle shocks and some shooting. I want to make sure that I can hold the primary, because it's really hard on this mission. It's very easy to accidentally have the floor fall out of your primary plan, even if you're in a good material position. The Hive Guard are going to waltz on over here and just light up this night like the 4th of July. They are so devastating in shooting into something like a big knight. I think they're going to be able to do a lot of damage. And then the Zoanthropes over here, like I said, are going to line up to go after this big knight over here. Now, I do misposition them a little bit. I forgot about the outside of 18 -1 to hit thing, so I'm going to reposition them onto the objective in a second so they can be within 18 to not take that penalty, because that'd be pretty bad. But that's about what we're seeing here, right? We've got all of our screens up, so Lucas isn't ingressing behind us. He's going to ingress up here, as we discussed earlier. That's going to put him on a beeline mission for that there Trygon Prime, or even if the Swarmlord ends up here and doesn't quite kill the knight, and then the knight dies to the Trygon, he could also slam into the Swarmlord potentially, right? He's a menace over there. Those reroll wounds, was it wounds and damage against monsters?
Just wounds.
Just wounds. Rerolling to wound against monsters' vehicles. Still, very strong ability. Takes that AP4 Melta-Gun to new heights. So we're dropping in with basically everybody here. We're sending forward, other than these 2 units. They're going to come hold down the backfield a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. Now, we pop off in the shooting here with the Zoanthropes. We drop the knight all the way down to 1 wound. There is 1 wound on this big knight after all that shooting. That's awesome. Unfortunately, our Hive Guard, despite using that 1 CP sustained ignores cover, hand Lucas like 14 saves, but he only fails 3 of them. I think it was like 12. He failed 3. Anyway, so he only takes 9 damage here, and he's sitting at like 16 or 17 wounds. Totally chilling. Not out in that grave of danger. Nice job on the saves there. But the Tyrant Guard are still a big, scary threat because they overwatch on 4s on an objective that I hold. So not the greatest turn in terms of shooting, but we got the job done. Now, we're going to have our Maleceptor rush over here and tie this guy up, because there's no way he's killing me in combat. I've got a 4-up invul. I've got -1 to hit my 6-inch aura. Unfortunately, I really wanted to roll a 7 so I could come in and base this guy, but I only roll a 6. So we're not quite able to base him. And we'll talk about why that's a big deal in a second, but we do go attack him. This frickin' dog survives both Maleceptors. No, that's a lie, actually. Sorry. He survives 1 Maleceptor on a wound after taking his cover away. We leave him at 1 wound, so we have a nice, easy 6-inch charge in here to go beat him in combat and then be on the objective and gum things up. This Maleceptor then shoots over here, does no damage, and then charges, and he's in there. And let me pause right here for a sec to explain what's going on. And then our Neurogaunts, sure enough, make this 6-inch charge, or maybe it was a 7 because I had to be a little bit further back from the screens, into the knight. This isn't the Diabolus. What's this one called again? It's a Despoiler. What's it called?
Despoiler.
Yeah, but what's the enhancement?
Bestial aspect.
Bestial aspect. Great. So the Bestial aspect Despoiler is tagged. Awesome. Unfortunately, we don't quite base with our Maleceptor here. This is a really big deal, because if we were able to base him, we would just attack with the Swarmlord, kill the big knight, move on with our lives. But because we didn't base him, if we swing with the Swarmlord and kill this knight first, Lucas can then interrupt over here and pile in, both basing the Maleceptor and engaging these Raveners, and he will just flatly kill the Raveners in combat. He's very good at killing Raveners. He'll sit here with his base on the terrain so he can see through, and next turn he's shooting Zoanthropes. I really can't afford to have this big knight kill my Raveners and shoot Zoanthropes next turn if I'm going to continue in the long term. So instead, we're going to activate the Maleceptor first and tag him. Now, Lucas didn't spend any CP this turn. He still got all 3 of them. He can interrupt up here and swing into the Swarmlord. I am praying that being bracketed, he's hitting on 4s. He doesn't have his pact anymore, and he can't go get it back. Because if he fails a battle shock check, he would die immediately. He used it for defenses against the Zoanthropes. It still took a ton of damage. So he's just hitting on 4s. There's wounding on, what do you, strength 10? Wounding on 4s. I've got 4 up in vuln saves. I've got 9 wounds left. He did do 1 damage with his AoE mortals on his turn, so I can tank 2. I just can't tank a 3rd. And I'm just hoping that that's enough, right? He could also swing into the Trygon, be much more likely to kill the Trygon, but much lower value kill if the Trygon goes down than if the Swarmlord does. And actually, wait a second. Are you only AP2? Okay, so 4 up emblem versus 5 up armor, not the hugest deal, especially when you need 5 to go through here versus 3. I think it's actually identical math. But one way or another, it's going to cost you all your CP, and it's a high risk play. So I'm gonna accept the risk. And what's your thought process here, Lucas? I think this is kind of one of the big decision points in the game. You're going to throw all your CP at the wall here, or are you going to play a bit more reserved and have the pile for next turn? What's the thought process?
Yeah, this was a key inflection point in the game, and obviously the safer play is save the CP for my turn. We're about to go into like I need to hit back as hard as possible. You're going to pop shadows. I'd love to have like a CP for a card recycle, charge rerolls, using offensive buffs on my big knights, so I can do a bunch of damage, and then at the end of multiple phases, recharge their pacting so I can get my defenses up again. Instead here, I end up going for the interrupt. There's a couple reasons why. The first of which is the Swarmlord's at a nice increment of 3, and all the damage I can put into him over the course of the next battle round is going to be damage 3, right? Like the Abominant's going in at damage 3, the Huntsman could charge in, he's strength 10, reroll the wound, damage 3. So even if I only do 3 to 6 damage to the Swarmlord, it's kind of the same as, as straight up killing him, because there's a very good chance that the Huntsman will go in and finish the job. So that's reason number 1. And reason number 2 is the CP economy for you is getting a little out of control, and I want to put pressure on that as fast and early as possible, right? If you don't get your CP on turns 3, 4, and 5, that would be really awesome and might, affect your ability to recycle cards and score me an extra differential or 2 here. Just doing some quick expected value calculations. I mean, it's always a bit dangerous to do with Abominants, right? The key phrase with Abominants is it adds up, right? Like the battle shock checks, the AoE mortals, the kind of casino shooting, the inconsistent melee. It's kind of dangerous to do expected values, but I should get about 6 hits. I should get about 3 wounds. You should take 3 to 6 damage, and then maybe the tail puts a little bit more on you. So, it's decent numbers. I'm not going to do nothing here, and that's why I end up going for it.
Totally. All right, let's see what happens. He decides it's to full send, and we're going to roll some dice. Frankly, I was about to say that I should have just, with my token here, healed the Swarmlord and spent a CP to get 1 wound back. I don't think that's correct. I think that's silliness. I kind of stand by most of this play line. Like, I really should have just hit my 7 here, is what I should have done. Just roll a little bit better. But there's only so much you can do at the end of the day.
You could have rolled a 5. Catch your lucky stars, buddy.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. I did pop reroll charges off this Maleceptor, so everyone here is rerolling these charges. I'm not just hitting all my 6s. I do get some good rerolls, but we got to do what we got to do. And sure enough, he is dead. Oh, Swarmy. I don't even remember I think he got like 4 wounds on me, and I failed 3 of them, and I CP 1 into a fail. Just devastating. So down he goes. Great. So not the end of the world. The Trygon can still pick up the knight, and then the Trygon's going to die, but so it goes. Maleceptor cleans up, kills the 1 wound knight over here. Raveners kill 7 of the 10 Plaguebearers over here. I'm calling that a win. That's plenty for them. They are going to get shot at by the knight next turn, but the Plaguebearers are neutralized. I've got other squads of Raveners. I just don't need them. And my Trygon swings and gets 11 hits and wounds on 5s because you T12 and gets 1 wound. And you pass your 5-up save, you sick bastard. No!
Fleshmetal fusion. That guy's sitting there on 1 wound, uppercutting the Swarmlord. The Doom official soundtrack is blasting out of his cockpit at 900 million decibels, and he's just happy to be alive, baby. Let's go.
what I wouldn't give for freaking tank shotgun monsters, dude. Like, oh look, it's a dude in a wound. Oh, I just spent a CP because I charged him. Great, never mind, not a problem. Like,
Tyranids
I can't
moment.
complain. This army is fantastic. It's a ton of fun. But I mean, my
Play Crusher
freaking
Stampede, coward.
no, my Kingdom for a Mortal Wound generation mechanic. Ugh. All right, so at the end of that turn there, we do end up picking up some points. We get our behind enemy lines via the Spore Mine over here, and we get our extend battle lines. We are holding most of the objectives on the table. We clock it to Lucas, and we do pop shadows. What are we doing, Lucas? Bottom of three.
Oh man, okay. This is where the rubber meets the road, where the pedal meets the metal, and we gotta do some serious damage here, or we're gonna kind of get blown out. Unfortunately, the primary situation is pretty dire. Right, it's bottom of three. Tyler put me on a zero last turn with the Gargoyles, and he's put me on a zero with Shadows this turn. So I am losing 15 to 0 on primary, and that's not feeling great. But your army is in front of me, right? And Chaos Knights do some good damage, and so what we're really going to focus on here, we got one CP, a bunch of pacts, and we're going to do as much as we possibly can at just killing the things that are in front of me. And I think overall we do a pretty good job of it here. So the result of Shadows is that our Knight Diabolus, she's fucking angry. The Hive, the Shockcannons didn't kind of whiffed into her. Actually, she did pact for resilience against that shock cannon activation. Took 9 damage and then rolled 4 sixes. So she's pissed. She only took 5 damage there total. Yeah, she's gonna be a force to be reckoned with, which is awesome. And then yeah. So with our whole army being battle shocked, again, we're not really going to get to score that many points here, but we're just going to focus on damage, try to be as efficient as we can, and remove as many bugs as is chaosly possible. So drawing our secondaries, we draw defend and establish. Again, establish isn't going to be anything. I'm fully screened out of your DZ. I don't even have any reserves anyway. I have 2 units that can do an action, and one of them is in combat. So that's going to be turned into a CP. And then defend might be scoreable. Our home field is sticky, and we have some OC nearby, so we can see what we can do about that. But worst case scenario, we will just ditch it. We end up falling back our Plaguebearers here to build a little bit of a wall in front of the Knight Diabolus. This ends up being a little bit of a mistake. It almost costs me her charge because she's going to try to break her way out of combat here. But we're letting her rip here. We basically packed for all the knights for damage, and then maybe our Abominant in the middle will use the repack stratagem to get resilience for Tyler's clapback. We'll see about that, but we're definitely using all of our packs here for max damage. The Huntsman is an absolute champion and annihilates the Trygon, which is awesome. That is kind of like his ideal target again, so that headhunt was wonderful. And then our 1 wound Abominant Fleshmetal fusion shoots in and kills 2 of the Zoanthropes. So that's a nice little chunk out of that last cannon brick, which is pretty awesome. We hem and haw a little bit here about where to shoot our Despoiler. The great thing, she is tagged, which is quite a bummer. But this is why you run the Gatling cannons over the Melta guns and the battle cannons, is she can kind of defend herself, right? She can shoot into combat at -1. She can shoot out of combat at -1. There's no amount of tagging that's going to prevent her from shooting. You can just kind of lock her in a place so you can fix her lines of sight, that kind of thing. So these 2 Maleceptors are right in front of her, so she's going to use her pact for lethal hits and just kind of spray bullets in a couple different directions, chip away a little bit, do some damage to these Maleceptors, and that'll be great. 6/2/2 with lethal hits is kind of exactly what you want to something like a Maleceptor or a Predator or something like that, where the lethals will add up, the wounding on 5s will add up, and we can see there she ends up killing that Maleceptor that the Knight Diabolus is in combat with. So she's also going to get to charge, which is going to be awesome because she's just prime options for picking up Raveners here. Luckily, we end up getting a sufficient charge to go around the Plaguebearers, which will be nice. Yeah, so holy cow, that was a lot of damage. We've already killed the Trygon. We've killed the Maleceptor that the Knight Diabolus is in combat with. And then we're just kind of letting some other bullets fly here. We chip away at the Neurogaunts with the Despoilers, Heavy Flamers. And we charge in with the Beast. The Beast might do a couple dev wounds to the Maleceptor. And we're just seeing what we can accomplish here in combat. Knight Diabolus swings in, annihilates those Raveners, consolidates back onto the objective to increase our chances of getting Defense Stronghold. And that is a lightning fast turn. But holy cow, we do a lot of damage there. Let's see, we killed 2 monsters, and the Maleceptor on my expansion here is going to be
We're
dying in
not
just a
done yet,
sec.
Lucas. Yeah.
What?
Gotta swing your Nurglings.
You're right. Yeah, my beast did too. Dev wounds, and the Nurgling swinging in, hitting on 6s with lethal hits. Unfortunately, did not roll any 6s, but Maleceptor is going to swing on the wounded War Dog there, try to put him down. Unfortunately, classic Tyranid damage moment utterly fails to do anything. Actually, no, I think I did like 3 wounds to
I
him.
think I did 4 damage.
Yeah. Either way, the Huntsman swings back. You're on 1, so I decide to sweep with the reroll the wound, and 1 goes through, Maleceptor down. So we've killed 2 Mallies. We've killed the Swarmlord in your turn, which, by the way, did not mention this, scored me Assassinate. That's why we hold on to cards. And that's why that change is incredibly cringe, because in the previous packet I would not have held on to Assassinate. Yeah, so we've done, holy cow, we've done a lot of damage here. We basically picked up all your monsters and put you down to some remnants here. And yeah, so as terrifying as the scoring is here, you're a solid like 30 or 40 points ahead at this point. No, maybe not 30 or 40, but 20 to 30 points ahead. We do have a lot of material left, and we're going to need to see what the Tyranids can muster here, because they are already down to what feels like the dregs.
Indeed.
Yep.
Yep. So being down a Swarmlord there that we wouldn't have otherwise been down, big bummer. I don't remember quite what damage that the big knight that the Swarmlord had been fighting got to do this turn, but also just a big bummer. We're so far behind in the 8 ball on that on the damage run because of that. Now, fortunately, these Hive Guard go entirely untouched, and they're able to spend a CP to uppy downy. Naturally, our Raveners, of course, are also getting picked up. So we have a couple of good pieces here, and we have a bunch of knights that are very close to death. This Huntsman, however, is not. He's going to be a problem, but we can do a lot of good work here. So we throw out our Neuroloids to these Neurogaunts and these Neurogaunts, and we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 OC. So Lucas is 5 or 6. So we are getting another 15 after we pass the battle shock checks, which is super clutch.
Yep.
So we're doing great on primary. Our secondary draw is Cleanse and Establish Locus, which is super easy. We've got plenty of units to do both those things. One of the great things about Raveners doing all this uppy downy nonsense is they're great action monkeys. They're going to drop in back here and establish Locus. They'll also drop in a ton of them that brings in those Hive Guard who are 6-inch deep striking. So they will actually be able to get a foot on this objective, which was made sticky by the Plaguebearers. So if they can down this big knight here, they'll be able to take it back and deny Lucas's deny, and also make it so that his hold more is not even a potentiality that we have to be worried about. Now, the really, really difficult and awkward thing is where we're putting the damage, right? This was the Shadow's turn, and a lot of stuff got battle shocked, right? This knight is battle shocked. This knight is battle shocked. This knight is battle shocked. Those are the things that the Neurotyrant and Zoanthrope unit is insanely good at killing. They got +1 to wound against battle shock targets. They're strength 12. They wound these things on 2s. Go get them. But I can't. The target priority is not like that, because this knight has to die because he's significantly more points, and this knight is right in my face, so he's going to demand some attention. This knight is at 1 wound, so I need to finish him off. So this knight, unfortunately, is going to get to limp away on his 2 wounds, and I really just can't put anything into him. And I will have to waste this knight being battle shocked. Well, I could have killed it. No access to rotate, no access to getting an extra pack for feel no pains. I'm wounding you on 2s. No access to CP rerolls. It just doesn't matter. Can't do it. I can't afford it. So instead, we will just hose this big guy, and it all works out. We hose the big guy with the Hive Guard, kill him. The zones over here shoot and kill the big guy, I think with the Flamer actually, and then the lances go into this guy right in front, just bounce, just a bummer. And while we can't actually kill this knight, the shooting, we can get within 18 of him to make sure we threaten an Overwatch if he chooses to move. He's only got 2 wounds left, right? So if he fails his battle shock again, he's super dead if he moves. And if he passes his battle shock, he's still in trouble. We do end up deciding to charge into the knight here with both the 3 Neurogaunts and the Hive Guard. That does unfortunately mean that the Hive Guard will not be in a good place to Overwatch, but it does guarantee that this knight is tagged for -1 to hit and not be going anywhere. I think that's worthwhile. He's only strength 6, and I'm T7 on Hive Guard, the beefy little buggers that they are. So I think this will be okay. It means that my Raveners back here, who drew these lines carefully to hide behind, won't be getting shot at. They'll get to activate 1 more time. We should be okay. Now, primary wise, we are giving up a 5 to Lucas here, assuming that, assuming nothing. The Beast Nurgle will get that. So he's getting back in the game a little bit there, but we got to keep the pressure on and finish this game out strong so he doesn't get us on bottom 5. What do we do in bottom 4, Lucas?
Sorry, muted. Yeah, you've locked up my Despoiler. Done a great job of that this game. That's plain and simple to see. She is getting shooting activations and is accumulating some damage, but unfortunately her OC10 ass is not on an objective. She's really key to my damage, so I can't like lead with her and put her on in the early game because you'll just alpha strike her. So she's unfortunately having to been staged behind the wall, and you've done a great job of shutting her down and limiting her activations. So great job there. We do draw some secondaries that are conducive to what we have left on the board at this point. We draw Secure No Man's Land and No Prisoners, and we also get a Challenger card because we're getting fucking dumpstered. We draw Strategic Retreat, which is go into reserve with a non-vehicle, non-monster. Lamau, dude, not going to do that shit. Or it's get a victory point for each of the following to a max of 3. Unit Holy in my DZ, Unit Holy in the middle, Unit Holy in No Man's Land, and Unit Holy within Tyler's DZ. So we are going to pick up a nice 3 here with our Beast, our Plaguebearers, and our War Dog Huntsman that's in the middle that just killed the Trygon. So that's going to be a nice like consolation 3 points on the Challenger card. And then again, no prisoners here. You've got 3 Neurogaunts in my face. You've got a Pyrovore idiot in my face who's going to get Meltagunned. Right, so we're going to get some nice no prisoners. And then we're also standing on all these objectives, which is going to A, deny Tyler some primary, and B, score me some Secure No Man's Land. So all things told, despite how little we have left on the board at this juncture, we are scoring like 12 points, which is kind of wild. Again, no primary. Oh, sorry, no, I do have primary at this time. I did score my expansion for the first time, which is going to be a nice 5 points with our 4 models that we have left or whatever it is.
Nice.
So yeah, at this point we're kind of rip roaring through the game. There's not a lot of models left. We're kind of just drawing cards at each other and going through the motions. The big knight roasts those Neurogaunts and chips away into the Hive Guard. Toughness 7, 3-up armor is kind of one of those profiles that she doesn't love shooting at. I end up also low rolling a little bit, so she only kills I think 2 of them, which is a bummer. But ultimately not the end of the world. Those guys are going to have to spend a CP if they want to pseudo fall back and shoot, right? Like the site-to-site teleportation. It's going to be really annoying. Those guys are going to get out of dodge and shoot in Tyler's turn, which will be irritating. But we're starting to make that points come back that I know and love. And we're also denying a lot of your primary at this point because my whole army has 12-inch aura of -2 leadership. Test if you're under starting strength. So that's pretty good for them Tyranid leadership characteristics.
For sure. So we start this turn off by throwing out our Neuroloids all the way up to those Neurogaunts up at the top there. And in spite of that being on 3d6, because we're at -2 testing for being under starting strength, we do fail Battle Shock here. And we are, if we don't fail that, we are holding. No, then you're holding, and we're contesting. Okay, so it's just 5 points of primary. It's not a full 10 or anything crazy, but it is 5 points of primary loss, which is a really big deal when primary is so hard to come by here. We do up and down to the Raveners. Raveners get a couple of them on this objective over here so that Lucas doesn't have that for free for hold more later on, because we really are trying to deny this bottom out of turn 15. We use this tunnel that they deploy here to site teleport the Hive Guard over here. The Hive Guard would shoot right into combat here and kill this guy, which frees up these friends to shoot down and kill the other guy. Great. He was only on 2 wounds. He was on like 6. Not crazy at all. But we get it all done. And at the end of the day, Lucas is sitting on literally 3 models that have OC. Cool. That's fine with me. And then secondary-wise, we pull recover assets. Overwhelming. Love that. We can recover and recover and recover, easy peasy. And then overwhelming force-wise, we kill those 2 knights, we score 10 points. So we do get a really nice 10 secondary, even though we got 0 primary top 5. And then bottom 5, Lucas, take us home. What are we doing?
I would pause here for the recording.
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to rip Display of Might and Extend Battle Lines. Unfortunately, to go to the middle and get to Well, I also draw a challenger card, which is kill a unit for 3 points. So I need to go to the middle with my Despoiler. So I can't score extended battle lines. We recycle it for bring it down, which is just Despoiler nukes the remaining Zoanthrope, and Neurotyrant gets me 4 on bring it down, 4 on display a might, and a solid 10 on primary for my expansion and the Beast of Nurgle objective there in the middle. And that's me some, a nice other 10 plus 8 plus 3, 21 points. So I did make a nice solid points comeback there on turns 4 and 5 with what little I have left, which was cool to see. But yeah, that is a lightning quick end to the game. Holy cow, I forgot how fast that was.
Yeah, it's a quickie. Man, this mission is wacky, dude. I'm a little bit skeptical. This seems like the most go second favored mission I've ever seen, right? Instead of on something like Taken Hold or even Linchpin, where you're knocking your opponent down to 5s or knocking them down to 3s for not holding their home field, on Hidden Supplies, if you knock them off their expansion, you're holding them to 0s, right? And if the score looks like 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, 0, 0, 15, and it can be tricky to not get that 15, especially when you get to shoot them off, especially on a table like table 8, where both center objectives are wide out in the open, right? It might be a little bit different on something where you can hide behind them, and then you're just kind of playing normal, but just up in each other's face, which could be kind of cool. But I'm curious how that's going to work out long term, because, yeah, that was a real big comeback for you, and just nothing I can really do about it. I'm not killing this knight. He gets to put 10 OC on each objective. That's just 10 points. I was very fortunate to be able to use my Raveners here to deny you getting the 15 in the first place, because that's not necessarily really the easiest thing to do in the world. So
I was going to say that this felt, very low scoring, which felt kind of unfortunate. But that being said, like you say, there's some points to be scored with the bottom of turn. And also it's got a fun dynamic where your home field isn't worth that much to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worth a lot to your opponent because they score 5 points for holding it, and they can kind of make progress toward A, denying your hold more, and B, scoring their own hold more.
Is that a thing?
I believe so.
Really? It's not just the ones in No Man's Land, it's just not your home field. Oh, snap. I should have played this game a little bit differently. Dang. That's
high mobility armies I think are gonna really thrive on this mission, especially aggressive high mobility armies that can go in, take over your opponent's backfield while also playing the midboard. And we saw a little bit of that game, this game as well. I was able to kind of prevent you from ever holding my home field.
Yeah. Tabletop Battles listed as control 1 objective marker in No Man's Land.
Ah, okay. Well, either way, it makes good progress toward the hold mores for both scoring your own and denying it to your opponent. So it doesn't feel great to allocate resources to protecting your home field when you could instead just get 5s and 10s for holding midboard, right? So absolutely. I think high mobility armies are going to really like this mission. How do we feel about these lists? What do you think of the various different units you've been trying here?
Man, there is so much fun stuff going on here. Maleceptors, man, I don't see it, dude. I don't see it. Like, I understand, and that this does solve one of their big problems, which is their lack of mobility. But as compared to an invasion fleet, not having sustained means their damage falls off a cliff, and not having a feel no pain means their durability goes from the most reliable thing in Nids to the least reliable thing in Nids overnight. They just either roll, like, it's just, hey, you're -1 and I'm a 4 pinball, so can you roll 4s? Can I roll 4s? Let's find out together, buddy. And when you fuck around and find out, as we saw here, they both died in a turn. Just gone. And like, that was really them kind of in their best situation, being stuck in combat, so only getting shot by a couple things at -1 all the time. Like getting to use their invul. I don't know about them. The Hive Guard are a much more interesting question to me. Now, obviously, in this game, they were money. They were putting in the work. How much value they'll provide in some other matchups, a little bit less clear. We'll kind of see how the meta develops a little bit. It's kind of going to be a tech choice, If you know for a fact, for example, that, the best player in your meta is a Chaos Knights player, probably bring some Hive Guard, would recommend. But they're not the only good shooting, right? The Zoanthropes were also excellent. They were not as fantastic this game as they've been in some other games. In part because you do have a lot of 4-up invulns to go around, so being AP3 ignores cover, not necessarily really getting the job done everywhere. And what they're really great at is that blast profile. Oh my gosh. You play that blast profile into GSC and just whoosh, pick up 20 mans without even trying. So I think they're still a really great unit. I think there's some interesting balancing acts there. The Neurogaunts, MVPs, man. They're so damn good. 45 points for 11 models is insane. Love those guys. Don't think you'll be seeing me without any of them. Maybe we don't need the full 3 units necessarily, but I'm not leaving home without at least one for sure.
What's
How about
so
you?
cool about this detachment to me is the fact that it just lets all of the units be viable, right? Because
Yep.
everything is deliverable, which is just such a breath of fresh air compared to just like brain off me run monster, me shoot you with sustained. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my invasion fleet is just so boring for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like basically every data sheet option in the Tyranids book is viable because it can deep strike at 6. And also everything can fall back, shoot, and charge. And also everything can teleport site to site style or like uppy downy. So
Yep.
there's just it's the sky's the limit in terms of the creativity of what you want to put in your list, which is just so damn cool.
Totally.
Um,
You can
yeah.
play a Haruspex, you can play a Toxicrines if you're feeling really crazy. I know that no fallback is kind of spicy. You can play a big bugs, you can play medium bugs, you can play little bugs. I probably wouldn't play melee warriors because that reroll ones becomes a little bit redundant. But you know what? 6-inch in charge is a great delivery device for them too. If they
Yeah.
get to pick up reroll ones to save instead, it's not the worst thing in the world. So I'm excited to see what everyone else is able to do with this detachment. It's a ton of fun. It plays in a bunch of different styles. You can do shooting, you can do melee, you can do lots of little units, you can do a couple of big units, whatever the case may be. It's awesome. 2 thumbs up for me. And I don't think it's wildly overpowered. I think it's a little bit much. I think Nids could use some points adjustments with this attachment in mind. I don't think any of the rules are fundamentally that crazy, but some of these monsters that are like a little bit cheaper than they should be probably. But it's definitely not, it's not Release Crusher, which is the last time that Nids felt as crazy as it did. This isn't DACA. It just happens to be a immediately totally tournament viable, can win a GT kind of Nids army, which is an exciting thing to have. We haven't had that in a minute.
Yep.
How about on the other cast night side, Lucas? What do you think of this attachment? What do you think of this particular set of data sheets?
Man, this feels really good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Knights of Abominant are really fun. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it's the name of the game is it adds up, right? You're doing AoE mortals at 9. It's not a Norris who can stack it. You're doing battle shock tests with big impact because of the army rule. You're doing unreliable but decent shooting damage. You're doing decent melee damage, and also you demand responses, right? Like this is your cheapest knight. It's a hybrid knight, so it's not free to tag, right? Not everyone has 11 model Neurogaunts. Like it's hard to shut these guys down, but that's the easiest way to do so. So there's some push pull there. The Knights of Abominant are just fucking awesome. I love them so much. And then the Despoiler, I mean, she's so much fun. We didn't get to see it this game because she was stuck behind that wall for 3 turns, but going a 13 automatically and 13 plus d6 in shooting is wow, it is a shot of
13
adrenaline.
plus d6 towing and shooting because she's towering, right? Like
Yes.
you have in your head what moving 15 inches looks like. You do not have in your head what moving 15 what towering looks like. It is terrifying.
Yeah, and being able to do lethal hits and ignore cover just means that, this guy is doubling, or this gal is doubling her output into pulls, which is just so cool. In terms of the dog complement, so those 3 big knights I very much like. I like the guy who's tough and demands attention. I like the knight Diabolus who hits relatively hard but is also not free to kill. And this is spoilers just zipping around like blasted fools. So I love these 3 big knights. The War Dogs are a little bit more unclear to me. I'm considering one of them being changed out for a Stalker, so I get a little bit of scout moves to get up the board early and create some problems. However, the ability of the Stalker is kind of counteracted by the Karnivore because the Carnos can go 17 minutes detachment, so it's basically just as fast as the Stalker, maybe a couple inches less, but much more reliable in the damage department. So probably we'll stick with the Carnos there. Also debating the viability of brigands and executioners in this attachment. The executioner's kind of cute. It's a little bit cheaper than the other knights. 1 CP ignores cover is very good on him, especially in conjunction with sustained or lethal. So that's a decent option for guarding my expansion or my back corner. And then brigands are also nice. Like one thing my list is definitely lacking right now is just killing 10 morons if they're in a kind of an awkward spot, right? Like my Despoiler can do that, but she only stands in one place. So just having one brigand to stand on the other flank and say, hey, I'll kill 10 guardsmen, I'll kill 10 gargoyles, that kind of thing, is really nice. And the brigand just makes great use of both sustained and lethal hits as well from the pacts. So I love how much of this, I feel like this detachment, when I was watching Art of War's review, at least of this codex, which is the one I've paid the most attention to, is they wrote it off immediately because they zipped through the detachment rule. Plus 3-inch move on demand is a game changer. It is a massive game changer, and looking for ways to exploit that. It's not only a rule that's reactive because you can turn on the Field of Pain when you want to, but it's also proactive because you can turn on the offensive mobility when you want to. It's completely at your discretion, which is, it's so cool. You don't have to pre-commit the token to anything. You can just use it when it seems opportune. Infernal Lance is freaking awesome. I love it. I don't think it's better or worse than the other detachments. I haven't played those ones yet, but I do think this detachment is pretty darn cool, and it fits the thematics of like the Hell Knights perfectly. So yeah, I'm just super excited to keep exploring.
What other detachments are you excited to explore next?
All of them. I'm excited about Iconoclast because cultists are cool, and also a Lancer that, you know, fallback, shoot, advance, and charge is just money in the bank. So that's going to be an awesome one. The index attachment probably appeals to me the least because it's most similar to what's familiar, but I also think that, like Infernal Lance, is a build where you shouldn't take all bigs or all smalls and you take a mix. In terms of what they were going for, in terms of those thematics, right? Like in the Hound Pack Lance, you are running all dogs. In Lords of Dread, you are running all bigs. And in all three of the other detachments, I genuinely feel like the best builds will probably have 1 to 3 big knights and 5 to 10 war dogs, which is just super cool. Yeah, and so, you know, index attachment is probably the least exciting for me just because I've played so much of it, but I do still think there's fun new things to explore there. And yeah, I know it's cringe, but I am also excited about Hound Pack Lance. Reactive moves, fight on deaths, fallback, shoot, and charge for war dogs. Just cool. And the dog hat's also back.
What can you say?
I love my hog, dude. I'm always about the hogging. And so yeah, it's gonna be fun to explore that detachment as well. So I mean, this book is a home run, frankly. I love it.
Oh yeah, man, I'm really glad to hear it. Not an easy book to get right. So props to GW for making that work. We have seen some bad Knights books in the last couple of editions. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining and for watching us. If you've got suggestions or things you want to see us play, drop it in the comments below. If you want to keep the conversation going, ask us a couple of questions, maybe in the comments. You can also check out our Discord over at patreon.com/statcheck. $5 a month gets you into that. If you would like to play a game against one of us like this, or get some feedback on specifics, we do offer coaching in a one-on-one setting. Head over to stat-check.com/coaching, link in the description to inquire about what that might look like for you. And check out our wonderful sponsors as well: Will and Yutani, Solitaire Games, J15, and the likes. Red Dragon, of course, our Big Daddy sponsor. They take care of us and they can take care of you as well. Check out our main show, Take All Comers, right here on the Stat Check Network, the main show, Stat Check, and whatever else happens to show up on this YouTube page from time to time. Hit that subscribe and ring the bell, throw us a like if you can. It does mean a lot. I think that's enough things to plug. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been Tyler.
I've been Lucas.
And we'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everyone.
For chaos!